If you buy a Google Pixel today, you are going to experience one of two very distinct outcomes. Within weeks, you will either fall entirely in love with the device, or you will feel an immediate sense of frustrated regret. Both of these buyers are taking home the exact same hardware. The friction happens when people expect the Pixel to behave like a traditional flagship, built to compete purely on raw numbers and benchmark scores. Buyers fit four profiles: spec chasers, heavy gamers, global users, casual shooters. The Pixel is strictly for casual shooters. If you want reliable point-and-shoot photos, its software does the heavy lifting. Demand maximum gaming performance or raw specs, and you're buying the wrong tool. Trying to force it into those roles has physical consequences. Pushing high frame rates in PUBG will quickly cause the device to rapidly overheat and throttle its performance. And when you inevitably drain the battery during those intense sessions, you are stuck with charging speeds that lag far behind the industry standard. Then there is the geography problem. If you live outside Google's primary supported regions, entire suites of heavily marketed AI features are completely disabled right out of the box. A spec sheet simply cannot predict your actual experience anymore. You have to map the phone's specific software constraints to your daily routine. For years, the industry taught us how to identify a good smartphone camera. Look for massive megapixel counts and enormous protruding zoom lenses. Devices like the S26 Ultra and the 17 Pro Max execute this strategy perfectly. They give you raw hardware capability and the manual controls to harness it. This comparison matrix highlights Google's counter strategy. Instead of stacking a 200 megapixel sensor, the Pixel leans on computational photography and AI software processing to interpret the image. The software automatically balances high dynamic range lighting and renders natural skin tones in almost any environment. It removes the friction of photography. You just point, shoot, and move on. There is no stress over manual settings or immediate post-editing required to make the photo usable. The trade-off is you lose the extremes. You sacrifice dramatic, ultra-long distance zoom capabilities and the ability to flex impressive hardware numbers on social media. If your priority is capturing daily moments effortlessly, the most reliable tool isn't usually the one carrying the heaviest lenses. It's the one doing the math in the background. Google applies that same frictionless logic to its operating system. The Pixel gives you clean Android, completely free of duplicate apps, pre-installed junk, and UI advertisements. Because Google owns the software, they guarantee up to 7 years of support, delivering Android updates first, alongside monthly security patches and feature drops. The real value is in the quiet, daily conveniences. Built-in tools handle spam filtering, actively screen incoming calls, and transcribe voice with high accuracy. To power those specific ambient features, Google built its own custom hardware engine, the Tensor chip. But the Tensor architecture has a clear ceiling. When pushed outside its AI comfort zone to process heavy graphical data, it struggles to maintain efficiency. Load up a demanding game like Call of Duty or PUBG, and the physics take over. The chip generates excess heat, forces the device to throttle performance to protect itself, and drops your frame rates exactly when you need them. That thermal inefficiency bleeds directly into the battery life. Under intense stress, the power drains quickly, leaving you with endurance that is adequate, but definitely not exceptional. When you finally do plug it in, you are met with relatively slow charging speeds, especially compared to rival brands pushing 100-watt fast charging out of the box. For heavy content creators relying on their phones to shoot video all day, this creates a major bottleneck. A 30 to 60-minute wait by the wall outlet actively breaks a fast-paced production workflow. When you build a processor specifically to filter spam calls and process photos efficiently, you inherently cap its ability to serve as a raw, high-performance workstation. There is one final variable that dictates whether a Pixel makes sense for you, and it has nothing to do with hardware. It depends entirely on where you live. This map illustrates the reality of Google's regional support. If you operate outside of select Tier 1 markets, in countries like Nigeria, for example, the device's primary selling points are deliberately blocked. The entire suite of AI phone capabilities vanishes. You lose Call Screen, the Hold For Me feature, and the Gemini-powered tools designed to record and summarize your conversations. You also lose access to critical safety infrastructure. Built-in car crash detection and satellite SOS emergency messaging are completely disabled based solely on your location. Even basic phone functionality takes a hit. Local carriers may support voice over LTE, but because Google omits the necessary carrier profiles in officially unsupported countries, the hardware cannot properly interface with the network. In practice, this means your phone will drop from a 5G connection down to 3G the moment you answer a call, completely severing your internet connection while you talk. And if you drop the phone and break the screen, there is no official repair network. You are entirely reliant on third-party vendors, making authentic replacement parts incredibly difficult and expensive to track down. Paying full flagship prices for a device that intentionally restricts its own core capabilities based on your GPS coordinates is simply a bad financial decision. The Google Pixel is an experience engine. It is highly optimized for very specific tasks, and it completely ignores the race to be a raw spec monster. Let's map your lifestyle on this decision tree. The buy path is clear. If you value point-and-shoot consistency, clean software, and live in supported regions, buy it. But if you demand heavy gaming, ultra-fast charging, or live in unsupported territories, skip it entirely. Ignoring this reality creates the immediate buyer's remorse we talked about at the start. The ultimate test of a smartphone isn't the benchmark score it hits in a lab. It's how well it handles your specific location and routine.